I used to drive 2.5 hours to get to that Mississippi River, and here I am 30 minutes away, and I don't even fish anymore. So I booked a guide trip with Mr. James Patterson out of Memphis. He guided up there for years. He's retired now. But I told Mr. Patterson, I said, I don't care if we don't catch a fish. I want you to teach me how to catch big fish with a rod and reel. And he spent a day with me. And I learned more from that gentleman. And best thing about it, we became friends out of the deal.
Yeah.
And still today we talk. You know, he's retired, don't get to fish that much anymore, but we still talk. And he's one of these guys that I've told him, I said, I want to take a memory stick and stick in your ear and punch you on the nose and say, down. He's got more knowledge about that river than most people will ever have. And what he figured out and what I'm learning every day, it's not about how to catch fish. It's how to read that river.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to Buck Junkies. What's going on, fellas?
You're supposed to draw that hey out a little bit longer.
Yeah, Malcom drags out a little longer, don't he?
We're doing good. Back in the office again.
Yeah, for like a day.
Yeah. It's been busy. Been quick.
Yes.
Malcom, he done got a little gray over there on us sitting across from me a little
he
bit.
looks a little different, don't he?
Silver fox.
So today we got a guest with us, Mr. David Magness with Cat and Around Guide Service, and we're going to talk to him here just a little bit. What we got going on, fellas?
Man, shoot, me and Emily didn't get back till Sunday evening, I guess, or Sunday around lunch. Me and NWTF, Jamie and them, they skedaddled on out of there.
Me and Brad skipped out a day or two early.
I think Jamie's dogs is barking. He put some miles in up there.
Well, yeah, think about it it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, and Thursday was hands down. If you're going, go Thursday.
No, don't tell people that.
Well,
that's our day.
Yeah,
I'll go Saturday.
Y'all wait and go Saturday. Yeah, yeah. But no, Thursday wasn't too bad. Now Friday, it was probably, I bet 3 times the amount of people there.
And
it was Thursday.
You didn't see the big day.
I didn't want to see the big day. I done had enough people by that point.
So when did y'all leave? Friday?
Yeah, me and
Friday
Brad
night.
come back late Friday night.
No, I would say, well, I talked to one of the guys at the actual NWTF that was helping with it, and he said that they over exceeded the numbers by Friday morning from last year. I think it was like 75 or 80,000 tickets sold last year, and they met that by Friday morning.
Wow.
75, 80,000 tickets.
I mean, like Thursday, if you did have a mission you was going to see or talk to somebody, you could kind of do it. Friday, you could hang that up, and I couldn't imagine even trying to go to anybody's booth and one-on-one Saturday.
We got there so the gates don't open till 9 or 8. Is it 8 or 9? I can't remember.
I don't know, we was getting biscuits at 8, so we didn't ever get there at 8. But
Yeah. I think the gate actually opened. Maybe the gate opened at 9. Anyways, I think it's 9. But me and Jody went Saturday morning. We left the house at 7:30, got there about 8, got our coffee, and it was already lined. I mean, it was 30,000 people in the lobby, looked like, at 7:30, 8 o'clock that morning.
God.
I mean, it was just waiting at the door.
I don't really know how big that, they call it a hotel. That's not a hotel. I don't know what that thing is.
It's big as Hernando, I think.
I mean, it is.
It's big.
I mean, think about it is you can, all them people, still got all them restaurants, and you're outside the hotel, but you're in the covered area. I mean, it ain't how many people is out there.
$30 a head to park. $30 a vehicle to park.
Boy, they was raking it in.
Shoot.
Oh, a bottle of water. I got in line. I was about to die. It's $7 for a bottle of water.
7.
That was, and I seen it up to $9.50 and $10 for a bottle of water.
That's pretty much done turned into there's no limit on pricing. Because one of the guys we were with, they charged him $800 to take one forklift and move one deer blind in the facility.
So they told
$800.
To move it, they go by weight, which don't make no sense to me.
It's $1 a pound.
Yeah. So it don't matter how big it was as far as size, but if it was this big but weighed more than something twice that, we went by weight. They had a scale on the forklift, and he literally carried it from the parking lot to his booth, which was a couple hundred yards.
It was $800. It's definitely it's a lot of money being grabbed out of there. That's
so
for
could
sure.
you imagine, like Mossy Oaks, their booth is probably as big as this warehouse, probably pretty dang close.
I heard it put best that NWTF is a Mossy Oak convention, like plain and simple. I mean, you better have that camo on up there.
I mean, their area was huge. I couldn't imagine what they paid to
which I'm sure as well than anything, the bigger you get, the more budget minded you get on things. But it was awesome. We had a good time. Spent too much money. We'll have to go over in detail later, but bought me a turkey vest, made a bunch of good connections. Brad bought a shotgun.
Yeah.
So it was a good weekend. Ate good.
Brad done some serious shopping.
Yeah. Oh, he went got
And back the truck up.
no, he bought hearing aids while he was up there. Got fitted for him and everything.
Hearing aids.
There,
So
can't think of the name of the company now.
I can't either. I didn't go over there, but I just caught the tail end.
So they look real similar to regular hearing aid, and they dial in frequencies. If you're turkey hunting, if you're deer hunting, if you're pheasant hunting, if you're at work, if you're weed eating, even sitting home watching TV. And I thought it was kind of a little scammy, but I tried them on, and you hit the button and it say
Turkey.
And it was a guy behind me calling with turkey. I could have pinpointed to the square foot.
It cuts out all the background noise and you hear just that.
Just that tone.
Just that tone. And like, just say you're, just say you're quail hunting, pheasant hunting, you're walking through briars and scraping on your chaps. With regular hearing aids, he said that would be amplified, but it tones that down, but focuses on the
bird, the
dog
dog.
out in front of you.
They were pretty darn neat.
It was.
They were pretty cool. I don't know if they got a catfish setting on it. I don't know if you can hear them.
Well, I've got hearing aids, and I've had them for, I don't know, several years now. and they've got like a indoor or restaurant or out.
Yeah.
You know, if you're outside and the wind's blowing, it'll kind of do that. But I tell you, when you need them, I went for years and years and years and struggled with hearing. I got these hearing aids on a Friday. I went to the Mississippi River fishing on a Saturday morning. I was fishing by myself, and I was drifting down a bank on an island. And it got breaking day good, and man, all these sounds. I thought, what in the world is it?
Where am I at?
It was birds.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard birds chirp in years.
Yeah.
But now I absolutely love birds.
Yeah.
Because I can hear them and I can relate now. So it made a big difference in my life.
Was, if you got, and they custom, you could buy like a universal, you could buy something that was custom fit to your ear. And I want to say they was $1,700 starting.
I mean, they wasn't just outrageous. I mean, it's a lot of money, but
yeah, I mean, like
for a hearing aid, it ain't much.
Fitted to your ear.
Yeah.
Man, if they'd have had a duck call version up there, you'd have went deaf.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear it. I struggled hearing turkeys when my son and I would be turkey hunting. He'd say, "Daddy, there he is." And I'd say,
Yeah.
nothing. You know, well, we'd walk a couple hundred yards, and then I could begin to hear him then, you know, and he'd say, "Well, we bite on him. We got to slow down." I thought,
I'll take your word for it. They've come a long ways because, like, when they first came out, what was it, the Walker's game ear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daddy got one of them.
But he only got one ear.
Yeah, but I think that's all they offered him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't.
It wasn't in both ears.
You couldn't pick out direction.
Yeah.
With that thing very
Well,
well.
when that turkey would gobble,
but
I'd be like, "Daddy, he's right there." No, he ain't. And I was a kid, so he wouldn't listen to me. Man, we made so many circles in Abbeville, Mississippi, chasing one bird. But they've come a long ways, that's for sure.
No, if you're on a mission and there's something in particular you want, you can get it there. Turkey Federation.
They got it. It's about a little bit of everything.
It is.
And Jamie?
What else we got going?
Oh, we got let's see, February 21st, we got the turkey banquet going on here in DeSoto County. Let's see where it's on. Where's Green River at? It's not Lake Commerce by the school, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there. Is it on the bluff or off the bluff?
I don't know. I don't know where this facility is at. I didn't
think
look it up on the map. I got an address there, 10980 Green River Road in Lake Commerce, but I don't know if it's down there. I think it's down in the Delta.
Yeah, I can't remember if it drops off.
I think it's in the flats. Yeah,
I think it's just maybe right. Is it just soon as you drop off the bluff?
I think so. I think they got a new facility down there where
I've seen some Facebook pictures on it, man. It looks super, super nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. I've never been in it, but it does look good.
And we're talking about duck hunting. Got the Ducks Unlimited at the Lewisburg Varsity. They got their dinner banquet coming up March 6th at 6 p.m. It's at that new place, the Gin up there at Nesbitt.
That place is nice too.
Yeah, it's real nice.
Ain't nothing really running on kill, boy. Ain't nothing to kill right now.
Nothing was posted on the Facebook this week. I guess everybody quit hunting this week.
I guess it's a couple states still deer hunting. I think Texas is still open.
I think so. It ain't many though. I figured most folks would be tired of hunting, so they'd go to fishing. Somebody post something on there, some kind of fish or crappie or something, but it was nothing. It was dead this week. But anyway, so with our habitat stuff, you know, me and Will went down this week and we planted some trees probably about 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
I think 4. Yeah, 4 years probably now.
Yeah, some of those trees we got from the DeSoto County Soil Conservation Place up there, which they were twigs. They weren't. They were from a nursery, but they weren't very big.
They've blown up.
Yeah, this past year, I feel like they've gained a foot or two.
Yeah, but you know, when you plant those trees, you got to kind of take care of them. We've tried to maintain them and cut around them and do all that stuff. So we went down this week, and a lot of them getting a lot of them little lower branches growing close to the ground and stuff. So we knocked off some of those and got them fertilized and stuff like that, where they go ahead and take off. And
do you think it works when they plant them in them pipes where they have to grow faster?
I think so, because when they stick them in there, they ain't got no choice but to go up.
Yeah,
you know, they can't. And plus, that thing's almost like a little greenhouse itself. So, you know, it's taking in a lot of sunlight. Any kind of moisture is, you know, running straight down that tube, down into that plant where it may not be, you know, any
keep the pest and everything. Or I guess it keeps a lot of the animals off of it.
Well, a lot of the doggone trees that me and Will were trimming up, the deer done eat the tops off of them or rubbed them and busted them off. And, you know, you got to worry about that when you plant trees. They just done busted the tops out of them.
Well, I even plant trees for my fishing. I plant worm trees. and they're the same way. They just, man, you plant 10 or 12 of them and 4 or 5 of them will jump and grow, and 3 or 4 of them will sit there for 2 or 3 years and won't do anything. And I fertilize them, and it's hard to get worms nowadays.
So you talking worm tree, you talking a catawba worm tree.
Yep, the catawba worm.
So,
you know, these things have a cycle. A moth lays the egg, they hatch, they eat till they get to a certain stage. They crawl down the tree and they bury in the ground. Well, then they pupate and come back as a moth, and just a life cycle.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty good hatch in there 2 years ago, and I probably let 1,000 worms go. I collected about 50 worms that year, and I let the others go so I'd have plenty of seed. And man, that winter, the deadgum moles I got these trees, 30 of them planted in a straight line.
Yeah.
And the moles, it looked like you had plowed under them trees.
Then I got all your worms.
I didn't have hardly anything this year. And I guess them moles undoubtedly ate
I never thought about a darn mole.
Pupa, you know, and then you know, on the square at Hernandez, several big trees.
Yeah.
You never see worms on them.
Yeah.
And kind of the talk is contributed to mosquito spray. You know, it keeps the moths away. And so it's even, I thought surely of anything I could grow worms, but I'm struggling.
So
I'm trying.
I know what Jamie's fitting to ask, and I got the same question. So go ahead.
I guess some trees are male and female. It's something. Daddy's got, he's got 1, 2, 3.
He had 8.
Yeah, I think he's down to 6 now, 6 or 7. And it's like 2 trees that never have worms on it. And we've taken worms off that tree and put on the one that didn't have worms. And you would watch them literally go down the tree and climb back. They would not stay on that tree.
Yep. It's something, I don't know what it is, but I've heard other people say that. You know, I don't know if maybe that tree absorbed something from the soil that
they don't like or don't taste good or something.
You know, they won't eat it. I don't know. It's one of those things that, you know, I kind of had in my head, shoot, that'd be easy to raise worms. I got 30 trees, and I've had them for.
You might get 30 worms.
Yeah, I've got them in different, anywhere from 1 year old to 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I hadn't picked enough worms in that 5 years to fish 3 times.
Daddies usually do pretty good. Now, last year they didn't, but usually they do.
So
I've got I think 15 more now. That's some of them's in gallon pots ready to plant. And then my daddy had a tree that a great uncle of mine brought him, just a little seedling from Florida. And Daddy planted that thing in his backyard on top of an old bald red clay hill, and that sucker exploded, man. And so I got one of the beans or some of the beans off of it, and I planted the seed. Those dudes come right up, and I planted them last summer. And just by fall, some of those shoots are chest high.
Yeah.
As your thumb. I don't know what, I know it's a southern version and a northern version of these trees. And I guess this must be the full southern or something, because I'm hoping, got my fingers crossed on those. They do good.
It's funny, people we talk to, me and Mark's always grew up. I mean, that was our job as a kid, to climb up a tree and jump on the limb and knock the worms out. But it's amazing how many people don't know what a catawba worm is.
Well, I keep these trees pruned, and it's actually a gentleman. I've never met him. I've got a book that he wrote. He's supposedly the guru on raising these trees and worms, and he lives down here at Walls.
Really?
He's I think he's fairly elderly, but I did get his name and number, and I'm gonna call him, and hopefully I can get some face-to-face information out of him, that may help. But
I ain't never thought about it, but
you let the stump get such diameter at 4 foot high, and then you cut it off, and they come back like this, and just So I've got them planted 6 foot apart.
Yeah.
And when they come back from that stump, you cut them down to that every early spring. Well, he says in the book, he says, let the leaves come out and get 1 inch long. And then that's when you prune them. And last year was the first year I pruned them that way. And it's just like you kicked them in the tail.
I don't guess Daddy's ever cut his.
He's on to something there.
Yeah.
But they grew, and they really did well on the growing part. I just didn't get the worms.
So how do you, when you talk about starting it from a seed, I mean, Daddy's got the big bean pods on them. Are you getting each individual bean out of that pod?
Yep. You open that pod, and it's full of seed.
Right.
They kind of look like a feather.
Yeah, they're fuzzy looking.
Yeah, kind of fuzzy looking. They'll be about 3/4 to an inch long, and be one little seed in the middle of that. I guess you'd call it a sheath, maybe.
Yeah.
And I usually plant 3 or 4 seeds in a spot, and sometimes just one will sprout, and sometimes all 4 of them will sprout. And then you pull 3 of the weakest looking ones.
Do you start it in a bucket? Do you start it on the ground?
Well, I've done it both ways. The ones that I seeded this past summer, I made some little raised beds, just plant vegetables and tomatoes and stuff, and I planted them on one end of that. And I got they called it some kind of pro mix or something that I got from the nursery down here at Coldwater, and put in there and filled that bed. Man, them suckers come up growing and they stopped.
I need to plant some catworm trees.
That's what I'm sitting there doing. That's my goal now. So I have to plant one.
Well, I've got a bunch of seeds in the freezer. If y'all,
well, you done said all yours are duds. I don't want them.
They grow. They just don't make no worms.
Oh, I can get the tree, but I can't.
So Daddy that's been several years ago. It was wasp and dirt daubers. They wasp kill the crap out.
Well, wasp is I mean, anything you read, and especially that parasitic wasp, he'll lay eggs on your worms, and they'll have little white bumps on them. The problem I had this past year, I had 6 different moths to lay a patch of eggs that I found, and every one of them hatched. And those little worms were, they were maybe 3/16 of an inch long at best. And it's a bug called a brown soldier bug. He's shaped like a stink bug, but he's got a stinger like a mosquito, and that dude will sting every worm and kill them.
Does he eat them, or he just?
No, you'll find that worm. Those worms will be eating. And when he dies, he'll still be hung on to the leaf like by his mouth.
Still latched on.
The worm will be hanging straight up and down. Yeah.
I'll be dog.
And then, of course, ladybugs are considered a beneficial, but the ladybugs, if they get on there, they'll eat the eggs.
Yeah.
And that's their life. That's what they do. And then I've got a farm field, a crop field right there on the east side of my place, just, 100 yards from my trees, and that guy's farming, and you're going to have some drift of pesticides and stuff. And nothing you can do about it. That's his livelihood.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you fight to try to raise worms.
We're going to try it. I might have to be bugging you after this.
They'll grow, and you can do, and it's kind of fun to deal with them, and I catch myself walking down there. It seems like every year that I've had a hatching, it starts in, my moss will lay around the first week of June. So just before that, I'll start walking down there, and man, I'll be turning leaves over and looking. They'll lay on the underside of the leaf, and I thought, oh yeah, I got them now.
If we can just make
it. It's pretty fun.
Well, Mr. David, we got you here as a guest, kind of talk about yourself and what you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started fishing and running a guide service.
Well, I own and operate Cat and Around Guide Service. I live here in Hernando, and I guide trophy catfish trips or eating fish trips, whatever a customer may desire, on the Mississippi River. And I do most of my guiding out of, we'll launch the boat in Memphis, Tunica, Mississippi, or Helena, Arkansas, about a roughly 100-mile stretch of river there that we'll fish, and we'll launch according to where the customer best suits them or river conditions allow.
Yeah.
With this low river the last couple of years, Tunica's pretty much been out of the question.
And now it's supposed to be high.
Yeah. That dude is, it's showing us something right now, but we need it. We need some high water. Sure do. And the high water helps with the spawn. If we got that high water, those fish have got all those more places to get and lay their eggs and hatch them and that kind of thing. I started fishing. I grew up in the edge of Grenada County, kind of on the Grenada-Calhoun County line here in Mississippi. The upper end of Grenada Lake, if anybody knows Grenada Lake, it kind of forks. You got the Yellowbush arm and the Schooner River arm. Well, that land in the middle is called the Badlands. That's where I'm from.
The Badlands.
President of the Badlands. When I grew up, it was nothing down there, but for a lack of better words, and back in the day, it was just beer joints.
Yeah.
I mean, it was jukebox and fights and cuttings and stuff, pretty regular. So, and that's how it got the name the Badlands. But my mom and dad still live there today, and I was fortunate enough. We lived close enough, and back then, 12 years old, you could drive a pickup, and we'd go fishing ourselves, go down in the river bottom and sat on the bank of Yellowbush River with rod and reels. And Daddy had a little 12-foot aluminum boat with a 3-horsepower air-cooled Sears and Roebuck engine on it, boat motor. And that's what I started fishing in. Daddy, we'd run trot lines on the lake. We'd put out limb lines and throw lines in the river, but it was always something about that rod and reel. And I kept on over the years and got in high school and old enough to travel to the Mississippi River by myself or with a buddy, and I fished it. I went in that 12-foot boat. Now, by this time, I had upgraded to a 6-horsepower Evan River.
Still ain't enough.
Little 12-foot boat, that dude was fly. Man, I thought I was something, But anyway, I started to fish in that Mississippi River, and the thing about it, you don't ever know what your next bite is.
Yeah.
It may be 5 pounds, it may be 55. And that just kind of got in my blood, and I kept pushing and learning and asking questions and talking to people and trying to figure that thing out. Well, then, I don't know, 20-something years ago, we moved to Hernando. And I went about 5 years and I didn't fish. And it just hit me one day. I said, I used to drive 2.5 hours to get to that Mississippi River, and here I am 30 minutes away and I don't even fish anymore. So I booked a guide trip with Mr. James Patterson out of Memphis. He guided up there for years. He's retired now. But I told Mr. Patterson, I said, I don't care if we don't catch a fish. I want you to teach me how to catch big fish with a rod and reel. And he spent a day with me. And I learned more from that gentleman. And the best thing about it, we became friends out of the deal.
Yeah.
And still today we talk. You know, he's retired, don't get to fish that much anymore, but we still talk. And he's one of these guys that I've told him, I said, I want to take a memory stick and stick in your ear and punch you on the nose and say, down. He's got more knowledge about that river than most people will ever have. And what he figured out and what I'm learning every day, it's not about how to catch fish. It's how to read that river.
Yeah.
And that river changes daily. You very, very seldom ever have 2 days that are the same. So every day is a new challenge.
So touch on that if you don't mind. There's a lot of people that's never, I say, set foot on the Mississippi, never been in the Mississippi River.
Yes.
And it can be very intimidating.
Yeah. It is intimidating, and I have a lot of customers that's intimidated by it. And you know, you've heard these old stories from uncles or whoever.
Everybody's got that story.
Fish at the bottom of the dam, big as a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Well, I've never seen one. And another story is on the Mississippi River. Oh, Uncle so-and-so saw a 20-foot tall tree shoot straight up out of the water, and it went back down and never saw it again. I've been out there 40-something years, and I hadn't seen that. Now, have I seen a lot of trees and debris coming down that river? Absolutely. But stories kind of get embellished over the years from uncles and things, you know, but you kind of use common sense. If the river's rising fast, you're going to have trash and debris in it. You're going, because it's pulling every log, everything on the bank, it pulls it out to the river. Well, when the river starts falling, it kind of pushes this stuff back toward the banks. And then it deposits it on the bank. Well, the river keeps falling, well, that log gets sitting there. Well, the next time the river rises enough, it'll pick that log back up, it'll bring it, and it'll go on down a little more. So that being said, I'll cancel a trip. A fast ride, if that river's nasty, you know, I'm not going to put anybody in any harm's way. So you just kind of have to play it by ear, you know, from day to day. Mikey, he was booked to go a couple of weeks ago, and they were giving 25-mile-an-hour wind sustained that day and 40-mile-an-hour gust, and we made the decision that and it was probably a good one that we did.
I guarantee you it gets cold, too.
Yeah. Well, yes, you get cold, but, you know, you're sitting in a deer stand, and you've got all these clothes on, and you make it. You may be warm, you may not be, but I've got an enclosure on my boat. You know, I can put the sides in it and put the back in it, and put a Mr. Buddy heater in there, and you'll be opening the doors or cut the heater off.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, just the draft on that water probably feels 10 degrees cooler than it does sitting in that. But the main thing is those sides knock the wind off of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you stop that wind, you know what I'm talking about. Out there in a deer stand or whatever, you knock that wind off, you can make it.
I mean, it was in the 30s that morning we went, and other than me getting a little motion sickness looking through that clear vinyl, we was good to go. It felt good.
And you know, you're the only one that's done
that
has complained about it.
It looked just like when we were in school, we had, I can't remember what it was, the police department, somebody come and they made you put the drunk goggles on.
Yeah.
That is exactly what that felt like. Whew, it got me, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
Which I'd done it again not too long ago. We was riding side by side and I was looking through a monocular. I can't do it.
It'll get you.
It'll get me.
You know, I've had very, very few people that's got what you call motion sickness out there. You know, it's not nothing like the ocean.
No.
It's nowhere near that. But
that and your boat is built for that river. I mean, that thing was very, very stable both times I was in it.
It is, and that's one thing I've done when I started the guiding. I had a 22-foot center console bay boat.
I remember that boat.
Great boat, no problem with it at all. But of course, catfishing, 95% of it's out the back of the boat.
Yeah.
So with that center console, your customers had to walk around the console and then step up on the back deck to get to the rods. And I had a older gentleman one day that stumbled when he was getting up on, and he almost fell in. You know, and it made me a little leery. And I go home, tell my wife, I say, if we're going to stay in this business, we've got to have something that I can keep my customers in the floor of the boat.
Yeah.
And we went to a 24-foot kind of a per se catfish designed boat. And now I'm in a 26-foot Sea Arc. And that's what you guys feel.
That thing, it's definitely a very well built boat.
That thing is.
What does that boat weigh?
I don't really know, but it's big and it's heavy, it's wide, and that dude will handle that river. And I put 6 people in there.
And you're comfortable.
Comfortable, not a problem at all. And I weigh 285 pounds. And I can keep the customers. Y'all have done it. Stay on the floor of the boat, bring a fish up on the side of the boat, and I get my big tail on the very back of the boat, on the very back corner, and stand right there on the corner with a net. That boat don't move. You know, so it's some things that I've done to upgrade that I try to make the experience. And you know, a lot of people call and say, when can we catch a big fish? We'll go, I ain't going to promise you no big fish.
No, it's no different than sitting in a deer stand. You don't know.
Every time you go get a stand, you know. So the way I look at it, I cannot control the weather. I cannot control that river. I cannot control what kind of mood that catfish is in that day. The only thing I can control is what goes on in the floor of that boat. So I'm going to bust my tail to try to make my customers have an experience.
That's right.
Even if it's one of those days you don't get a bite, or maybe you just catch a small fish, I want you to get out and have a positive, say, man, that was a great time. He worked for us, and that's all I can do.
I mean, whether you were sitting here or not, I say the same thing. Somebody asked me when me and Mark and Dad went out, catching fish wasn't the best day. Just wasn't that day.
That's right.
But you wasn't out just to get the money and we went fishing and that was the end of the story. That's I mean, no, you showed us, we
learned.
Yeah, you showed us stuff on the river I ain't never seen, never thought about, and you did do what your part to make it happen. But I mean, that was.
Well, me and Jamie both talked to probably one of the biggest turkey hunting outfitters that I know of this past week in NWTF. And we were talking about, what's it like being an outfitter? And the thing about it is, just like he said, you can't control the hunt. Okay. You can't control that fish. But if the experience that person has back at their lodge or in your boat, they'll come back for that.
Yep.
If the fishing's good and you're rude and everything else sucks, they ain't coming back.
That's right.
But the fishing may be terrible, but you took care of them, they're coming back.
That's lessons that you learn.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I've been guiding 7 years, and I remember the very first trip I had that we didn't even get a bite that day.
And you were worried to death about
it. It ate me alive internally. And I go home and I tell my wife, I said, well, those guys won't be back. Guess what? They've been back every year since then. And they told me, so that's why I said, man, you can't help the fish bite. Said, you worked your tail off for us. You showed us a good time and you done. They come back, and I think the next year they had 2 that weighed over 40 laying in the floor of the boat at the same time. And one of them said, Captain, that there, he pointed at those fish and he said, that's what keeps you coming back, isn't it? And I said, no, sir, it's not. He looked at me kind of funny. I said, it's them that we hook that I know is bigger than that we don't get in the boat.
That's the one you want.
You want to find out what that one's like.
I want to find out what that one's like. That's right. Yep. And I was going to start something new, and I was going to pull this on Mikey on his trip a couple of weeks ago. And I haven't done this yet for customers, but I'm kind of thinking of incorporating, giving the customers an option to have a shore lunch, pull up on a sandbar, and I bought one of these little, I don't know,
Blackstones,
$5 little propane grills, old camping grill up a burger, hot dogs, or whatever, and I was going to use you for the guinea pig, but I knew you'd be in on that.
Oh, yeah, I'm always up for eating.
Well, the last time I remember you eating a can of sardines
and a pickled sausage.
Filled it full of hot sauce, and then
we can do better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a hamburger would have went over better.
Guarantee it.
So out of all the years that you've been doing this, what has been, going both ways, the best and the worst? What has been your most memorable because it's one of your better trips, and what has been one of the ones you'll never forget because it didn't go as good, or maybe the crowd might have had too much to drink night before?
Well, I actually haven't had any issues with people drinking too much.
Yeah.
And that's surprising. I would have thought, and I allow my insurance and stuff. It allows for me to allow alcohol on the boat. I can't furnish it, but I can allow it to be brought. And I tell customers that bring it, I said, look, if anybody gets sideways, trip's over.
Yeah.
We're going to the ramp, just for safety.
Yeah, that's right.
I've never had a problem with that. So that's a good thing. Probably the most memorable, Mark, is it would be several of them. And what I love about this is I get to meet a lot of people. I've had people from every state in the United States fish with me. And when I started the guiding, I go back to, I thought I had to catch a 30-pound fish every trip. You don't.
Yeah.
And what I had to figure out is, what is a trophy to Mark? What's a trophy to Mikey? What's a trophy to Jamie? That may be 5 pounds. And a lot of these people that I have, they don't have the opportunity to fish.
Yeah.
And most of them, if you can catch a 10 to 12-pound blue cat, that's the grandest.
They tickle to death.
And that's fine.
That's right.
It tickles me to death to catch a 10-pound fish. So, and then seeing kids, kids just, I've got a picture on my phone, it was actually 2 women, 2 mothers. They had 2 boys each from Ohio, and they came down, and I did a trip. So it was just me, these 2 women, and 4 little boys that were 6 to 9 years old.
I bet that was an entertaining trip there.
They caught a 63-pound fish, them boys did.
Golly.
And with me helping hold the rod, all 4 of them took turns reeling on, and we got him in the boat. And I've got a picture of these 4 young men sitting on the back deck and it's fish, and all 4 of them's lapping. And they go home, and their mother gets it put in the local paper. Well, she sends me a picture, a clipping out of that newspaper. She sends that to me, and then she sends me some pictures she took, and then the best thing was a little container of these Buckeye chocolates. Them dude's pretty good. So, yeah. But that memory will always be there with those boys. Occasionally, I carried some guys one day, some men, and one of them told me, he said, I've got a brother that's 50-something years old, and said he's got the mind of a 12-year-old. Can I bring him? Absolutely. Well, it was one of those days that we had caught a few small fish. We just couldn't get a big fish to bite. And we were sitting in a little hole there, and I went up on the front of the boat. They were sitting in the back fishing, and I had those polarized glasses on, and I got to seeing those Asian carp. And they were just about 6 to 8 inches on the water. Well, I picked up a rod and put a big snag and hook on it, and I threw out there, and I hooked one of them, and I said, David, come here and get this fish. Man, he comes up there, and them darn thing, I mean, the smallest one we caught was 14 pounds, and we caught them up to 30-something.
And they're straight muscle.
When we started that, the catfishing was over.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, but David, he got up there and he got that thing, and they kind of run. They don't go down. They may not go over 3 or 4 foot deep, but that dude, he'll run 30 or 40 yards, peel and drag under the boat around it. And I won't never forget David saying, he turned around and looked, he said, Captain, I need a 12-gauge double barrel to shoot this thing and slow it down. So it's things like that,
yeah.
that the worst ones are.
That's the ones you want to forget.
You have some days that you just don't catch fish. I mean, it's facts of life. You have some days you go sit and understand.
I mean, that's what the day that Mark and Daddy went, we'd see fish, but they didn't cooperate. I think we hit them in the head and they still wouldn't bite,
I mean, we still caught.
Yeah, we caught.
6 or 8, and you caught that one big one. I mean, it was a good day in my opinion.
Oh, and you know, that's kind of how you look at it. And I'll tell people, if you're coming and you're set in your mind that you're coming just to catch a 50-pound plus fish, don't come.
Yeah.
Don't come.
Yeah.
Because it's a chance it may not happen, you know. All we can do is try hard, and you can see them on that deadgum fish finder. And I got a picture on my phone of one I marked last March. I was fishing by myself that day. 100% blue cat. You can see the fork in his tail, a pot belly, and that may be the reason it didn't bite. It looked like it done swallowed a 10-pound carp or something. That pot belly. I set up on this fish, pulled up above it, current running towards it, and I throw out 4 rods at different lengths out there. I sat there on it, close to 30 minutes, didn't draw a bite. So I reel up, I drift the boat back with the trolling motor, I get right back over it, and that darn fish is still sitting there on that drop-off. I said, okay, we're going to play this game different. I dropped 4 rods. I put 32-ounce weights on it to try to keep that line as vertical as I could, and I dropped them dudes straight down on that fish, fresh bait on it. I sat there another 30 minutes, and when I left, that fish was still there. I give him an hour, you know, and I'm sitting here, he just ain't going to do it today.
And that's what blows my mind, is much water and as big as a river is, how there's that many fish to find out there.
You know, and that's still something to me when you get out there and you see God's creation. You know, we see deer on the bank,
Yep.
We see turkeys, we see eagles flying, and you sit there and you look at this expanse of water that's coming from Minnesota and going to the Gulf of Mexico, and every drop of water you see, you'll never see a drop of water again.
That's right.
You know, once you see it, that you're done.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, you're right. It's gone.
you look at you're on one bank and it's half a mile or better across to the other bank, and all this current, and you're wondering, how do you even catch a fish? How do you put one piece of bait in this expanse and catch a dead gum fish? You know?
That piece of bait sees millions of gallons of water go by in just a few minutes.
So, but man, it's just one of those things. It got in my blood. I quit. I used to be an avid deer hunter, bow hunted and everything, just crazy about it. Turkey hunted, and my day job, I do have a full-time job during the week, and I do my guiding on the weekends and holidays and vacation days and that kind of thing. But I quit deer hunting, you know, and I told my wife, I said, just in my mind, if I'm going to be good and professional at something, I've got to donate my time to that one.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I hadn't turkey hunted in 7 years.
Well, a lot of people don't realize, I didn't until we fished with you, is that you always think about fishing summertime. Your best fishing is when it's ice cold and in hunting season with deer and turkey. So that's your prime time, is it not?
Yep. Big fish, wintertime is big fish time, I think. Mikey, you caught a 50-something pounder in
it was
mid-February.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And last 2 weekends ago on a trip, we caught 2 that day that weighed 42 pounds each. A father and son, both of them caught a 42-pound fish. That's pretty cool right there, you know. January of last year, I had a guy, he's from Indiana, and he was working over here at West Memphis. He worked for that Hino Trucks, like Toyota division or whatever. Anyway, he had went in November or December, and we didn't have a very good day. It was, you know, we caught a few small fish, and that was it. So he wanted to go again. I think it was New Year's Day. We put in at Memphis. I couldn't put in at Tunica. And I told him, I said, it's a hole down there at Tunica. It's about a 30-something mile boat ride that I hadn't fished in months, and I would love to go down there. And he said, okay, it's just a boat ride.
Let's ride.
So me and this dude cut out down there, just me and him. First fish he put in the boat was 28 pounds. About 20 minutes later, he put a 67 in the boat, and he turned around. He said, we can go now. he said, my day's done, you know. So, you know, it happens like that sometimes. You know, I think you caught a 30.
Yeah, mine was 30-something pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So, But wintertime, absolutely. And you're right. Everybody, and even my guide trips, when bow season opens, Mississippi and Arkansas, I start seeing my trips declining. You know, I usually stay booked up through the end of October, maybe a trip or two in November, and in December, maybe a trip or two, and then January and February, maybe one trip, something like that.
Time to book one.
We need to book one. Should have done booked one.
These, you know, these big fish at that time. So they got to eat.
Yep.
They may not eat that moment you're there.
Yeah.
But he still eats through the winter, you know, and the same thing with these crappie fishermen with this live scoping. 10 years ago, you go to the boat ramp on Sardis Lake or Enid Lake or wherever, it wouldn't be a boat there. Go there now.
It's packed.
That's right. Boat ramp is flat. Now, one thing, the lake's low, and it may not be but one ramp that's usable, but still, you've got
more boats.
You've got 30 to 40 boats there on a day that it's 40 degrees, you know.
Well, I think that a lot of that too goes back to awareness. I mean, you look now how much social media has grown the sport of hunting, turkey hunting, duck hunting. You know, fishing's falling right in with it.
Yes,
so,
yes.
And it's not a bad thing. Now, granted, are the resources, are we using more of them? Yeah. But I think that's when it comes people like you that are knowledgeable about the sport that makes it keep going, you know?
Well, I think what we have to do, and this is with the deer, turkeys, squirrels, catfish, or anything. Yes, it's more people involved now, and it's more people learning how to. I mean, it's people now that can kill. What does Mississippi law allow? 10 or 12 deer a season?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 10.
And it's some people that can do that, and they can do it quick.
Yeah.
Well, and along with technology in the fishing world with these fish finders and stuff, we're getting people that maybe struggled or weren't as fortunate to catch fish that can take this technology and catch fish. So along with that, conservation comes into mind,
right?
You know, and that's when, and you guys know, I asked that we throw back anything over 12 pounds. And the reason I do that is for conservation. I want that 10-year-old boy, you know, I want my grandson to be able to catch that fish. And that fish is our good brood size. That's where our young, same thing with crappie, you know, a lot of these guides on these lakes in North Mississippi, they've got a program going crappie forever. They tagging them and they putting them back in the lake. The big crappie, they're letting them spawn. They're letting them reproduce and have more for all of us in the future. And I think that's what everybody's got to get on
board with.
You know, it's enough resources here for all of us.
Yeah,
but
we still have to be smart because the technology is changing the game.
Smart about it, and you know, technology allows people to go out there and catch that limit of 10 slab crappie that maybe used to couldn't, and that's okay. But you don't have to
don't abuse it, I guess you say. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
So, what size you start tagging at? I can't remember.
Well, I've been tagging for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife. This will be the 4th year, and we're tagging 20 pounds and up. And I tag blue cats and flatheads, 20 pounds and up. We put 2 tags in their back. I measure the length, and of course we weigh the fish, and then I turn that data in to the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, and hopefully when a person catches that fish, it's got a 1-800 number on the tag. You call that number in, give them the tag number, and then they in turn call me and say, hey, we got this called in. And most of the time, I can get up with the angler and talk to him myself.
Yeah.
So I've got, where'd you catch it? How'd you catch that kind of thing? And just kind of compare. And I'm going to throw this in there. This amazed me.
I was hoping you just tell.
I was trying to poke you toward that one.
All right. Number one is, let's go back to what we talked about a while ago. This river being so expansive and so big to able to catch a fish. What's the chances of somebody with a rod and reel catching a fish I tagged with all the fish that's in there? So that even narrows it on down.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, had a customer, 2 brothers from Texas, And we caught a 52-pound fish right out from Tunica there in November of 2021. We tagged that dude, 52 pounds. We put him back in the water. Memorial Day of 2022, roughly 6 months later, that fish was caught by a tournament angler. Now, he wasn't in a tournament, but he's a professional catfisherman. St. Louis, Missouri. 449 river miles.
That's crazy.
Now, that's navigation miles. How far did this rascal go right and left, feeding, rigging?
Yeah. He covered some ground.
And fortunately, the guy that caught him up there had the exact same scales that I used, and he weighed him at 53. So he swam all that distance, and in 6 months, he put on a pound. Now, did he really gain that pound? Maybe. And the reason I say that, a 52-pound fish can swallow an 8 or 10-pound carp or whatever
in that instant.
So maybe he could have possibly had a bigger fish that he had swallowed and made that pound, or he may have actually gained him. Who knows? I had two this past year. Well, not this spring, but the spring of 24. They were caught the same week up the Arkansas River. All right, when I did the miles, one of those fish was tagged. I tagged that fish at Memphis. The other one was tagged at Vicksburg, Mississippi. And when I did run the miles on the computer trying to figure out, I came up with 165 miles for each fish. One went south, one went north. So, and we've had several called in that had moved 27 miles, 85 miles.
See, that right there by itself sounds insane. Yeah. Not counting 400 miles,
Now, a friend of mine that guides at Vicksburg, Mr. Bob Crosby, he tagged one in the fall of, I think, year before last, August or September. He tagged the fish, put it right back in the same hole he caught him out of. Another guy caught the fish in January in that exact same hole.
Yeah, that's what don't make
go anywhere.
Yeah.
So we still don't understand
what that fish is trying to do.
What their goal is, and I kind of think, the good Lord made pretty much fish to go upstream to spawn. You think about salmon and or as other folks say, salmon, but where I come from,
it's salmon. It's got an L. You're gonna say it.
So, I think in the spring it's just a natural instinct for them to go up rivers, and the reason I say that is those two that was caught last spring, they came out of the Mississippi River, and they were 25 miles or so up the Arkansas River where they were caught. And I had another one caught last spring that was up the St. Francis River. So that tells me that when that water starts warming up and they get this spawning on their mind, I feel pretty confident that they hit these tributaries and stuff, and that's where they go to do their spawning ritual. And when I said earlier that we need some high water, guess what? High water gives them dudes all kind of opportunity. Take Tunica Cutoff Lake. When the Memphis gauge is on 9, you can't get out of it in a boat. It's still a little trail of water. A fish could come over that weir dike, but basically it's cut off.
Yeah.
But when that water's up, them fish can come out of that river and they can get in that Tunica Cutoff Lake, and my goodness. And
you got acres.
At the acres of stuff they've got to do their spawning, so.
Before they put that, I guess, dike or levee or whatever you want to call it in, that's what we always look forward to, was get that river up, and if it was dropping a foot and a half a day, you go to Tunica Cutoff, you're going to catch fish because they're all coming out of that lake. Man, we used to catch so many.
That going back, what was talking about, every day is a different day. Rising water, the fish move. Seems like river rising, it pushes the fish toward the bank. It pushes them shallow. It pushes them on sand. Those sandbars in that 3 to 12 foot water will fill up with catfish in the summertime.
Yeah.
When you get a rise. Right the opposite when it falls. They love to go deep, and they'll go to mud. And them dudes will bury down in that mud, and you catch one, and he'll have a line all the way down his side in that slime coat, a mud line. Old belly will be just mud all over it, and barometric pressure. It pushes them down in that mud. And when you see them in that mud, you know you're going to struggle that day. It's going to be hard. When you see that dude, when you look on that fish finder and you see some separation between him and the bottom, and he's up a foot to 2 foot off the bottom, but hang on. They finna bite if he's up. So
on them fish that are 50 pounds, what do you think the age is? How long does it take to get that size?
Jamie, I've done quite a bit of research and reading on this thing, and the sad news is it's not a lot of data out there.
Yeah.
I mean, catfish has always been a rough fish. He's not a game fish, so we just hadn't had the research and stuff done on them. But by all accounts, about 25 years is the lifespan. Now, that may, it's like a deer. It may vary a year or two either way. The Mississippi state record on rod and reel was broke 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That fish weighed 131 pounds.
Holy smokes.
On a rod and reel at Natchez, Mississippi. And Mississippi Department of Wildlife did the study on it, and they come back that fish was 20, 21 years old. It's some kind of bone, olathe or something they call it, that they take out of that fish's head and get the age of it. And they said that fish was around 20-something years old. But does every 20-year-old catfish get 100 pounds? Heck no.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think so.
Every 6-year-old 8-point get to 150 inches? No, not Mississippi. They don't.
Yeah.
So I think it's a genetic thing, and it's kind of like letting that 2-year-old 14, 15-inch 8-point walk. You won't know if you don't.
That's right.
And it's just like that catfish. If he's 20 pounds and you carry him home, you'll never know. That may have been your 100.
That's as big as he's getting.
That's right. That's as big as he's getting right then. So, but yeah, I wish that, we got the Mississippi Department of Wildlife on board with this tagging, and they support it. And it's just the first step in trying to learn and figure out what these fish do. And I want a radio tag so, and they do it on sturgeon.
Yeah, so you can track it.
Yeah. Track them. I want to take 2 20-pound blue cats. I want to take 2 30-pound. I want to take 2 40 pounds and see when we have these big weather changes.
What they actually do.
When you have this 20-foot river rise, where does he actually go? And figure out, does the 20-pound class fish, do they act different than the 50-pound class fish? Or do they all go to the same type of structure or whatever? But that's expensive, and we just hadn't got that. We just hadn't got that urge for catfish yet.
Yet, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think eventually that you can see catfishing going? I'm not going to say it's going to ever get as big as bass fishing, but do you think the resources will be put in it as much as they do other species of fish?
Mark, right now, no. And the reason I say that, it's a lot of push in other states and other areas for catfish, and everybody still wants to consider it a rough fish, and I don't know why. Catfishing has exploded in the last few years.
And I'll say you, I'd rather eat a catfish any day than a piece of crappie.
Well, I'm that way too.
I mean, that's going to get some hate, but to me, catfish are better eating fish.
And it's a lot of people that's been in my boat, that I'll tell them how to dress this fish and prepare it, and they'll call back and say, my goodness, we had no idea, But I guarantee you, if it's a plate of fried crappie, I'm not knocking it. I love it.
Yeah.
If it's a plate of blue cat,
I'm catfish.
It's
that blue cat. Yep. I'm telling you. So I wished our local governments would get on board more. I mean, catfishing's up there like in the top 3, with bass and crappie. in our area. And that, may change up north because they got walleye or whatever that comes into the picture. But I mean, it's millions of dollars spent by people like us on catfishing. And I would love to see it. One thing that's happening now that is a really, really big issue with trophy catfishermen like myself and people that are wanting to help with conservation is paylakes in other states.
Yeah.
And but they're allowing our wild river fish to be caught by commercial fishermen, and they're sold live to these paylakes. And those fish apparently have a pretty short lifespan once they hit that paylake,
So for somebody that don't know, what is a paylake?
I know Ohio and Kentucky through there have a lot of them. It's private owned lakes, and they charge you to come fish.
So it's what didn't used to be one over here on Pine Tree Loop.
It was, yeah.
Journey's End or something.
Yeah. All right, but see, like that was they raised those fish. They stocked it with channel cat or whatever. But these are trophy pay lakes. How long would it take them to grow?
It's kind of like
high fence for fish.
Catfish. Yeah, a high fence. Exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. And I don't personally. Pay lakes have got their place. I mean, you've got people that may be handicapped that can't do.
Yeah.
They can't go. They can't come on the river. Or maybe can't get in a boat, period. So they've got their place. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I do have concerns about thousands and thousands of pounds of our wild river fish going to a pay lake.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right, but we don't have that big an issue right here where we're at in North Mississippi. But on up the river, and the Ohio River is it's a very, very big problem, and it's some guys up there that they've done a lot of work and conservation trying to get some changes made. And you take the state of Tennessee, just right here above us. Several years ago, they implemented a law that the limit on catfish or whatever is you can keep one fish over 34 inches per person per day. One catfish over 34 inches. Under 34 inches is unlimited.
Well, you ain't never going to have one over 34 if you catch all the ones under.
That's right. But you take a 34-inch fish in the Mississippi River, you're going to be hitting in there around 17 to 19 pounds typically. That kind of gets you in there. I have seen a 14-pounder that was 34 inches long. Now, it was after spawn, and he was a male, and he looked like a snake. So he done lost all his weight and stuff. But anyway, that happens, and I would love to see Mississippi do the same thing. That is a step forward. Mississippi has 0 rules and regulations on catfish. As long as you catch them by legal methods, if you catch 500 that day, that weigh 50 pounds apiece, they're your fish if you want, So anyway, I'd like to see some things like that would help preserve our future for y'all's kids to come.
Yeah.
And the thing is most people do not know none of this.
No.
Not advertised, talked about on any network.
And that trophy catfish is just, it's a different world. And what a lot of people don't understand is, especially during COVID, I had a lot of customers that were I'll say local. They were from the Arkansas area, Mississippi area, that typically go to the coast every year with their wife on vacation or whatever. Well, they would go out red fishing or whatever while their wife did what she did. Well, during COVID, they couldn't go. So they put trips on. More than one told me, we had no idea that we could catch fish this big right here,
freshwater,
and get back in the truck and drive to the house. You don't even have a motel room, So that's the things that people are learning and doing, and it's growing. It's growing, and like I said, I feel like it's enough here for all of us, but we got to start putting a little. And I know you guys, I see you on your podcast and stuff, things y'all doing where you hunt is awesome.
And it don't take that long to see a difference is the thing about
That's right. That's exactly right. If you can get a group on board and everybody does it, you'll have a showing pretty dead gum quick. Sure will.
We just need to go ahead and come up with the NWTF, and we'll have the National Wild Catfish Foundation.
There you go.
We wouldn't have to listen to them duck calls at that one, I don't think.
That's right. Yep. That is right.
Mike, you got any of them other questions you want to hit?
Oh, that's about it. It's about all the time we got today. We do have a question of the week, though. What's your go-to catfish bait?
Go-to catfish
Let me get a
bait.
pencil. Hold on.
Yeah, let's take notes.
100% skipjack herring.
Skipjack herring.
And he's a little fish. He's in the Mississippi River. He's native in the river. He's native in the Tennessee River. And if I go, I'm gonna have skipjack 100% of the time. Now, wintertime, I love to have fresh shad also. You caught your big fish on some fresh shad.
That's my go-tos, them shad.
And shad is great. And especially in the winter when the water's cold, I love shad. And then catawba worms. If I've got a couple from over in Arkansas, they come every year. Captain, we want to carry a cooler full of fish home. I carry my light duty stuff and catawba worms, and we try to fill their cooler up.
Yeah.
But you'll be surprised at the 20 to 35 pound fish you catch on catawba worms.
See, I remember one year at the cutoff, we had goldfish, night crawlers, catawba worms, and something else. And you might as well not put nothing else in the water because you wasn't going to catch them. Catawba worm, it'd sit out there 30 seconds. You had him fish.
The catawba worm, not real good in the wintertime. And it don't seem to work as well when the river is chocolate milk muddy. But is that river clear? And the clear Mississippi River is when you can see a piece of bait 4 inches deep. That's clear.
Yeah.
That's real clear.
That's real clear. But when you get to that point, the catawba worms that's when they really, really shine.
So what's your go-to more? Catawba worm?
I'm going to have to say catawba worm just because that's what I remember growing up fishing with so much.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of them things. It's been plenty of times we've done it at Spillway where they wouldn't bite nothing else but a catawba worm. And you're not going to catch much trash fish with a catawba worm as you would a night crawler or something else.
You might, if you're fishing shallow water, I have hung a gar or two on a catawba worm, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got catfish
And they're pretty daggum tough.
Oh, yeah.
They'll stay on the hook.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They will. They're good.
Jamie?
That's what we always, again, that's what Daddy always, we was a tree shaker. So we always had, buckets and buckets and buckets of catawba worms in the deep freeze. And then on my great granddad's old place used to be a perch pond and crawfish pond. A lot of times we go seine crawfish and carry them too. But
Yeah.
catawba worms are number one go-to.
Yeah. Spring of the year crawfish is great. When I fish tournaments a good bit, and you're putting these big catfish in the live well and possibly riding them around, moving in the boat for a few hours, just facts of life, they regurgitate.
Yeah.
And I have the honor to clean the live well up. You'll find potatoes, onions, birds, frogs, crawfish. They'll eat about anything that's live, and it's just life. I've got some friends that they live here in North Mississippi. Two brothers. They fish with me a couple of times a year, and they've actually got aquariums. And they've got a blue cat in one, a flathead in one, a channel cat in one, a bass in one, crappie, and they've got all these in their house, and they've got these pet cameras set up on them, and they monitor these fish and take notes how they act. And I've learned a lot from these guys. And they're flathead. Flathead's always been known to be a live bait eater. Now, I catch most of my flatheads on cut bait, but it's fresh.
Yeah.
But they put minnows in that tank for that flathead. Well, occasionally you'll have a minnow that'll expire. And he said, if you can get that minnow right, a minnow starts getting a little slimy pretty quick. But he said, if you can take that minnow out of that tank when it first expires and put it in the tank with the blue cat will eat it. But if it gets to that point that you start noticing deterioration, the blue cat won't touch it. But you put it in the tank with the channel cat, And he said he'll eat anything you put in there. It don't matter what.
And see, you always think of the channel cat being the cleaner fish.
Yeah.
And it might not be.
And it don't matter. What he eats don't matter. And you hear stories about these Mississippi River fish, the flavor of them and whatnot. I'm going to tell you something. I've been eating catfish out of rivers and lakes for a lot of time. I didn't get this physique of 285 pounds by not eating fried fish. And them catfish out of that Mississippi River, to me, is the best fish you can eat. Now, he's got some fat on him. You've got to trim that off, trim the bloodline out, and you clean it up right, and it gets to what you're talking about.
It's good eating.
Mm-hmm.
Buttery.
It's good.
Well, what videos we got finna come out this week?
Oh, this week we said rabbit hunt was coming out last week, but it's actually coming out this week. So, got rabbit hunting coming out with me and Will and Willie, and then we got a charcuterie board that Michael Hunter made.
Is that the one that's going to have the duck pate on it?
Yes,
or the
I believe
duck
that confit.
Confit, whatever.
I think I said that right. Duck confit.
This guy made some duck liver pate and some duck confit. Nothing like it.
Really?
It was unbelievable.
Wow.
I've never thought it would be what it was, but it was delicious.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then Malcolm's got a video coming out, grilled duck and taters. He made a grilled duck with a mushroom reduction sauce. It was pretty daggone good.
It was real good. It's probably some of the best duck I've ate.
Get in on some of these taste testing.
Come on.
Guys got going on now.
We might have to do one of them recipes out there on that boat on the river is what we need to do.
Well, Malcolm and I had talked one time about, getting together and doing one for some river catfish.
Yeah.
Just cooking it every how. And I fix catfish many different ways, but I'm an old Southern country boy. That dude rolled in yellow cornmeal and dropped the peanut.
Hard to beat.
Hard to beat, it's hard to beat.
Well, where can, if anybody want to reach out and get in touch with you, get something lined up, where can they reach out and find you at?
I've got a website. It's Catting Around Guide Service, and it's spelled CATNAROUN Guide Service. Website got a lot of information out there on it. My phone number, 901-356-1008. My phone number's on the website, and if you happen to call me and I don't answer, please leave a message and I'll call you back within a few minutes. And reach out, and man, we'll decide when's the best time for you to go, and we'll get you an experience out there.
It's not but 10 o'clock. Is it too late to leave today?
Yeah.
Well, the boat's sitting in the shop.
All we got to do is go.
The batteries are charged. Rods are in it.
And it's fixing to get cold.
It'll take me maybe 5 minutes to get hooked up, and let's roll. We take a cast net and get us some shad in the harbor, and we're good to go.
Y'all make sure to reach out to David, and y'all tell him Buck Junkie sent you. He'll give you the special. I think you bring the wet wipes instead of just dry toilet paper on that one, don't you?
Exactly.
I think. Yep. I think that's a partnership we got worked out.
I do have toilet paper on the boat, and hand wipes, and we'll do the special will be wet wipes.
Yeah.
Today. And
which ones we got at camp?
Dude wipes.
No,
we got some Mario Lopez.
Yeah, Mario Lopez edition butt wipes, man.
All right, I
That's a little boozy.
I do have the Bill Dance edition of the what they call no stink.
Yeah.
No stink wipes or something, hand wipes,
Well, David, man, we sure appreciate it. We could probably go on another 2 or 3 hours. We're definitely gonna have to get you back on here, and we're just scratching the surface right now.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me, and I appreciate you guys fishing with me in the past, and hopefully we can do it again. Y'all keep pushing forward. It's pretty neat what you guys do.
Well, I think everybody sitting in this room has been very blessed and fortunate to be sitting where we're sitting to do what we do. So I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Well, man, we appreciate y'all listening. Y'all check us out on all the platforms. We got some content coming out. We'll talk a little bit more about the NWTF probably next week. But other than that, we finna get ready for this cold weather. And I don't think we got too much to do at the farm this week. It's about going to be too nasty.
Not too nasty.
Y'all have a good week, and we'll see y'all next week. We gone.
Yeah, got to do the Malcom.
We gone.